That clock is already ticking. So I'll just do it in three parts. The first is, we'll just see what a fable is. And we'll see how cinema can interpret fable. And how we'll see how contradictions, if any, or the problem of interpretation can be contextually solved. This is how I'll do it. See, the idea of fable for me, you'll see many. Panchatantra is an obvious example, right, which we just saw. I don't want to go into varieties of fables because I think through the day you'll get it from different speakers in any case. All of us know what it is, what a fable is and what a parable is. My point is that, what is the most interesting thing about a fable is that it has the quality of paradox. When in the Gospel of Matthew, when Jesus says, in the world to come, the one who is the last shall later be the first. The one who is first shall later be the last. When he says that, it's paradoxical because you don't expect that. In the hare and the tortoise, slow and steady wins the race. This is a very important thing about paradox. In Kannada, Sarvagna says, for instance, kottaddu tanage bachitiddu pararige. That means, what you give is yours. What you hide belongs to others. The quality of paradox is extremely important because the obvious one, I think, does not lend itself to, a narrative surprise. In a story, a narrative surprise says, oh, this is what will happen. That is why, see, the most intelligent persons there, among all the three most intelligent and aggressive, capable Brahmins get eaten up. The one who is scared and timid is the one who saves his life. That kind of paradox is extremely important. Actually, I'll just deal with one of those examples, only one of them, okay? And I'll tell you what the moral problem of constructing fables is today in our world. It can be true at any time, but in our world now only I'll talk about. I'll take the example of Govina Hadu, Punniyakoti Kate. That is, there's a fable from the Mahabharata apparently, but we claim it as ours in Kannada, about 200 years old maybe, but we say that there is a story, I'll say it quickly in a few lines. There is a cow in a herd that is grazing, near the woods. There is a very hungry, the cow is called Punniyakoti. There's a very hungry tiger which is not eaten for 7 days or so, and it's called Arbhuta, and the tiger actually attacks the herd. All the cows run away. Only Punniyakoti is trapped there. And the tiger says, I'm going to eat you now. Punniyakoti says, look, I need to go out and feed my child. Let me feed and come back. And the tiger allows it to do that. This one goes, tells its child that it needs it'll get eaten. So come to say goodbye. And child cries, why should you go? Who will look after me? So the cow asks, Punniyakoti asks the other cows, they're saying, sisters, look after my child as yours, please, I have to go. And it goes back, and the tiger is overwhelmed to see this cow come back. And, it commits suicide. That's how it ends. Now the thing is, you could interpret it in many ways. I don't know, even those of you who have heard the story, how you deal with the moral of this. What is the moral of the story? I think if you were a vegan or vegetarian fanatic, you can say, this is about vegetarianism. Or you could say, cow, it is correct for cow to live and tiger to die. But if you're a wildlife conservationist, it's okay for cows to die because there are many cows, but tiger is the endangered species. If you have a zoo, you'll need to kill, even if you're teaching Punniyakoti to your child at home, if you're the zookeeper, you need to kill cattle to feed the tiger, otherwise it will die, right? In fact, if the tiger doesn't eat, it will die. The predator-prey relationship is not a relationship of good and bad. It's a relationship of survival. The prey must run very fast to survive. The predator also must run very fast to survive. If it can't get it, it dies. It's in the nature of tiger to do that. It's not good or bad. Now the thing is, how will you interpret a story? I'll go to the fable itself. In the fable, the refrain keeps saying, Satyave Bhagavantanemba Punyakotiya Kateidu. That means truth itself is God. Punniyakoti believed. It's the story of Punniyakoti who believed truth itself is God. Okay? And the negotiation it makes, it's important. It says, to the tiger says, you are here. Why will you go and come back? How should I trust you? So that to the tiger, it says, Satyave nama tayi tande, Satyave nama sakala balaga, Satya margava tappi nadedare, mechana paramatmanu or mechana hari achyuta, whichever one it is, okay? Now what is Satya in that? That I'm telling the truth, I'll come back? Is that the Satya? I think so, but it means a deeper idea of truth. It means that it is saying, I will honor contract. It's a very important idea. I will honor contract. When it's with the cows, they say, why do you have to go back? It says, the cow says, kotta bhashege tappalareno, ketta yochane madalareno, nishteyindale popale na katta kadegu khandita. That is saying, nishthe is contract, committed to, bound to contract. That is what it is saying. I cannot belie the word I gave. I cannot betray the promise I have made. And I cannot think bad, because it's saying it is bad to think that way, to break contract. That is very clear. The moral of the story is not the moral of tiger behavior and moral of cow behavior. It is given to tiger to eat, it's given to cow to graze and be eaten. The moral here is the construct that you make where a contract is honored. This is an extremely important idea, and I told you the dangers of misinterpreting it. Now, what happens when you do it in film? Film is a highly complex storytelling or a narrative idea. I'll give you if they show a photograph of one politician and another politician, if there's a top angle shot for one and a bottom angle shot for the other, actually, would you know that this channel is prejudiced, it's valorizing one and putting down the other? Would you know? Actually, you feel it when you're watching a movie, but do you know that's how the camera is manipulated? Because we have no visual literacy training at all in this country. It's not a function of intelligence. It has the affect. That means emotionally you get affected by what manipulation, the framing is, and the camera is doing. But you don't know it's being done to you. You don't have the intelligence or critical examination of what is being done to you. Film is highly constructed, complex, narrative. Editing itself, pacing itself, music, when they're showing something, the quality of the music they're using influences you. When a character enters and they put a violin sound, they'll sentimentalize you with that sound already. So the way you receive what the character does is different. But after a character says something, somebody's reaction, if you put the music, you're suggesting that the director is sympathetic to the character reacting, not to the character doing it. Now the thing is, would you know all this? It's not, you can be a nuclear scientist or rocket scientist. This education you don't have. You do get manipulated. We have a thing called point of view in cinematography, right? Which is different from point of view in literature. I'm telling the story from the girl's side. I'm still telling the Mahabharata from Bhima's side, from Duryodhan's side. No, this is not that. Karna's side. This is where you place the camera. Where you place the camera to look. Who is looking? Whose viewpoint is it? That itself is a deadly thing. In fact, point of view itself is a fake thing. It's a sympathetic point of view. It's never point of view. If you look into the lens, it is genuine point of view. But if you look into the lens, you cease to be the character, you become the person. It's a convention of film. I'm not saying this is how it has to be, but that's how it is. News anchors can look into the lens. Actors playing character don't look into the lens. When Rajinikanth, in a movie, in the introduction thing, when he does this and looks into the lens, he stops being Annamalai, he's Rajinikanth at that moment. And the crowd erupts because they recognize the convention. The moment he sees the lens, he's becoming himself, he's not playing a character. When so much manipulation is there, how do you deal with the morality that film generates? And cinema is nothing but fable, fantasy. A realistic film is fantasy. See, this is the paradox of it. The chair is tree. Did you laugh? But in a movie, if I say chair is tree, by convention you're trained, you won't accept it. You need verisimilitude. It needs to be tree. If it's a set also, it should look exactly like tree, otherwise you'll not believe it. Now what happens in film is, because of verisimilitude, you get lulled into thinking this is real or like real. Superman can fly. You know, he's as fantastic as Rajinikanth can beat up 50 people at one shot. But you accept them as it is a make-believe, which is with verisimilitude and contextualizing, you begin to think this is all right. And you get lulled into making moral decisions that can be quite crazy because it's so manipulative. I'll give one example, the greatest one of them all, Walt Disney. What is the morality or the fabular value that you can take out of Donald Duck and Mickey Mouse? Or Cat and, the Tom and Jerry? What is the morality you can take out of Tom and Jerry? At the outset, I'll say one small thing, the underdog must win. Okay, maybe that is the morality we take. That's there in movies. If there is one uniform fable thing that is happening in movies, the underdog must win. Because the paradox is important. If a big guy comes and the villain is a small puny person and he swats him like a fly, what kind of story is it? If a boy comes and tells a girl, I love you, girl says, okay, is that a good romance story? You need paradox. It seems impossible. You cannot get this. And then you get it. That is paradox. That is why essentially fable it is. The problem of the fable is where the moral is not clear in a movie. Tom and Jerry is full of violence and that's what children are looking at and laughing. I'm not being very moralistic about it myself. I'm just saying it is dangerous. It's dangerous for Rambo to win. To make the point that the state police should not behave in that manner, it is not necessary for Rambo to burn down the city. It gives you pleasure when he does that because we have pent up violence and anger ourselves, and because we are helpless, we actually love these fables. But these are not fables in the way we understand fables. These are fables as fantasy. Stuff which is impossible for you to do in real life, or to accomplish in real life, you transfer that agency to that movie character and you feel gratification that happened. But tomorrow you have to go back to the drudgery, and when your boss, that impossible Khadu's boss, walks into the office, you are still doing yes, sir. Your life is not affected, and that is a problem. I think we should recognize fable for what it is. And there is fable all around us all the time. It's like the great story of Manohar Parrikar that came on internet recently, right? I mean, I've seen it in the past. The watermelon story, you know that, right? Now, that's a great fable story. That is close to the paradox of saying, kottaddu thanage bachittiddu pararige. It's because I was generous with the watermelon that I was selling, I was getting the better fruit. It's when I tried to save, I began to get small watermelons. It's a paradoxical story. That's a true fable. And if you have the ability to recognize the fables around you, the reward of it is that you acquire agency. Now, what I mean by agency is that when everybody looks at something and says, this is it, you can look and say, no, but the emperor is not wearing any clothes. You know that story. How many of us have the ability to do that? That critical idea that you can look at a thing and ask the question, no, this is not what it seems. We were discussing earlier today, when you write off so many permissions when you download an app, when you say, it's my right to privacy, is it even real? What are you saying? What is private about you? In 1984, the novel, for instance, the idea of Big Brother is an oppressive surveillance system. It is so scary. The Orwellian world, 1984, is there are cameras. I see now women walking into police stations and asking for surveillance because they don't feel safe if they're not watched. We grow up as young people, when we were young, thinking that surveillance is Big Brother and a monster. Today you demand surveillance for security. I'll tell you one more great paradox. When you're very rich, and if the cattle class bothers you, sweat, stinky, BMTC bus, crowded railway station, crowded street, what do? You live in a gated community. Now, is the city bigger or is the gated community bigger? Which is the cell? Which is the free world? Are you keeping the city out? Or are you locking yourself in? If you are a billionaire and you prefer to live in around MG Road or around Jainagar, and you go to work 2.5 hours in the traffic because the road neutralizes everybody, So 2.5 hours in traffic and you come back. If you had just lived on the other side of Electronic City, you could have actually worn flip-flops and Bermudas and gone to work. You would have had a better quality of life. See, this is what I'm saying. It is not that money or education or opportunity or any other privilege is going to give you critical thinking. It is the fable and the paradox inherent in fables that will give it to you. But you must have the ability to recognize it. That's all I wanted to say with this. Thank you very much.